Can I ask you, meanwhile, Greg, how did it go with the can you believe this happened to me? You had that, yeah?
Yeah. I think that went really well. We ended up getting.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. See, I got it. I'll be right back.
Yeah. No, let's carry on.
Here we go. All right. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across the planet, around the world. My name is Greg Prescott from In5D.com. And today we're going to be talking with Paul Dobree-Carey, and he's with us right now. Hi, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Greg. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to join you on this. This is great.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. I want to let everyone basically meet all the various contributing writers that I have on In5D, and your articles are just amazing. So if you want, before we get started, just tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, of course. Well, from the UK originally, as we were discussing earlier, southern UK. So my back garden, I was brought up in sort of crop circle country, and I run a crop circle site from that point of view. So always had that right from childhood. Stonehenge, Glastonbury, you know, these sort of areas are regular places for me. A place called Knowlton, little known place that I go to, which is a stone circle. Albeit all the stones of the circle were taken down and built a church in the centre of the henge. And that, for me, I used to spend every full moon for many years visiting this particular stone circle. So yeah, all of southern England, that was led me up to my awakening process, which was the 14th of June 2009. It was a Kundalini awakening, which, without going into details, a Kundalini awakening which led to a walk-in, which led to a soul star embodiment, Polaris AB, which is a star very close to the North Star, Polaris. And that brought through information which I've been writing about for the last 10 years. So I love writing, same as you, same as yourself. I haven't got into tie-dye t-shirts yet. That's not something I've sort of delved in, but I'm fascinated by the process. But yeah, I love writing. So hence why you've added some of those articles on your site, which I'm very grateful always. But so
well, let me. How cool would it be? Okay, now what I do with my t-shirts is I use the 99.9% quartz crystal sand from Siesta Key, and I put that in the dye, and it gives these shirts that energy. So how cool would it be if you took like dirt from Stonehenge, right? Or just something with the energy from Stonehenge, some rocks, little rocks, put the rocks in there into the dye, did the same thing.
Well, the thing is about what you're using is silica, which is sand, which is quartz. And 80% of the earth, feldspar, mica, granite, contains quartz. And the beauty about quartz is it's programmable, which is why quartz crystal skulls, Max, Shannara, a lot of the crystal skulls, the Atlantean skulls and the Lemurian skulls, can hold information. We've all seen Superman, where he has his crystal and he throws it into the wilderness and grows a crystal city. So they contain information. So what you're wearing, if you're making tie-dye shirts with quartz, effectively you're making a programmable t-shirt. You're making programmable clothing, which is capable of holding intention. And intention is the manifestation force of the universe. So yeah, programmable.
And that's what I do. I put positive thoughts and energy into it, and then I use Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian code of forgiveness. And when people wear these shirts to bed, they're saying they're getting these amazing dreams. So it's no surprise to me that's
that's good. No, quartz is programmable, you know, as I said. So in particular, you can hold quartz, set your intention with quartz, and they become sort of I always call them an army of little helpers, you know, people who have lots of crystals around them. They're all at different frequencies, and frequencies carry and hold information. And that's going to be a very, very nice segue into light language, which is the language that's carried in the force of the frequencies of light. We already know frequencies of light. We know the rainbow. That's the 7. That's the 7 rays that we work with within third dimension. But that's expanding. We now know that there are, we can access 12 directly for the Merkaba, the 5th dimensional energy body that surrounds us. All right, so that's taking into account an expanded awareness that we're all getting of frequency. And that's why this, this light language comes through as what's been known in the past as glossolalia, speaking in tongues. This kind of foreign, sounds like, to some people, sounds like Arabic or Sanskrit or some kind of foreign language. But what I started noticing over the 10 years is people that do this, there were common words, there were common consonants, there were patterns that were involved in that particular process in the language. And that's what I started getting fascinated with languages. So you asked earlier on about why Thailand. Well, I'd moved through, there was a calling, I suppose. I'd already been to South America. I'd been twice along the Sacred Valley, Urubamba, Machu Picchu, Cusco, that's Tiwanaku. And then I went into Bolivia through Chile, that's Lake Titicaca, Gateway of the Gods there at Puno. So there was a big journey going on. And then that took me through the states from one side to another, Colorado, Boulder, and Oak Island, and New York, and then up to Canada. There was Iceland. So it's a kind of a journey all the way around. But the number one thread was always language. There's always language, and the fascination with the fact that we live in a world with so many different languages, and yet I'm going off at tangents at the moment. I'm trying to bring it all back. But recently I went to India, Rishikesh, and you've got so many different languages in one country, and it makes you wonder. You know, you move to Tamil, which is Ipadi. You got Banakam, Ipadi Iruka. There's a way of talking. It's not just the language itself. There's an acting that goes behind it as well. And we find this in light language. You find that there's lots and lots of different dialects. You know, even in America, you can tell where somebody comes from as soon as they open their mouth. Yes? So
yes.
Just
well, I'd
imagine,
imagine,
what we call the, yeah.
From what you've said already, I'd imagine you probably have visited all of the Earth chakras and vortices. Or
not yet, but that's
close to doing so. Like I'm sure you went to, the root chakra, Mount Shasta, and the sacral chakra. You mentioned that you were at Lake Titicaca, and solar plexus is in Uluru.
Haven't been to Uluru yet, but I mean Glastonbury. You've got with the heart chakra. Hawaii is the sacred heart chakra.
Okay,
which is the thymus. Okay, so that's not noted on there. You've also got causal, but there's light language words for these as well, for the higher chakras. You've got the causal, what's called the soul star, the earth star, and the galactic or stellar gateway. And they have their own light language words as well. So this needs to be brought out, because most people know the 7 chakras: Muladhara, root; Anahata, the heart; Vishuddha, Ajna, the third eye. So I'm throwing lots of, these are Sanskrit words, these particular words. So when I went to India, I went to study Sanskrit in Rishikesh, in some of the Kundalini yoga ashrams there. And I found that Sanskrit probably is one of the oldest languages which allows the body to use vibration. Sanskrit is a language which allows the use of the mouth to make sounds. Pa, ma, ka, da. And then you start hearing these words and you're going, hang on, pa, pa, da, da, ma, ma, ba, ba. What? Hang on, that's baby words. That's what babies do. So when you see babies from different countries, all using the same languages. How? Because that's the natural way that the vibration moves through the voice, the human voice box. So there's a natural language before it becomes structured and by the culture that you live in. But there's words in Sanskrit that, I don't get too scientific on all of this, I don't want to run away with this, but there's words in Sanskrit, there's a sound called hr. And when we look at it in the English, it's LHR. So when you read LHR, how do you pronounce LHR as a word?
It's hard to pronounce without any vowels.
Yeah, but it's hr. You pronounce it hr. And it took me weeks to be able to even make that sound. So when you have a look at different languages, there are sounds that languages make that other countries cannot reproduce because you can't move your tongue around or the palate but individuals who can speak light language naturally will be able to bring out certain light languages because their native language teaches them how to move their palates. This is an important point. So the most common light language is the voice of the heart. It's the voice of the soul talking. But there is celestial light language. There's elemental. There's dragon. There's Pleiadian. There's Arcturian. There's Syrian. There's Andromedean.
Can
there's
you tell when
Reticulum.
you hear somebody speaking light language, can you tell where that light language originated from?
Okay. Can you speak French?
No.
Do you recognize a French accent?
Yes.
Why? You can't speak French. How do you ta-da? Okay. That's the easiest explanation.
I don't
Bonjour,
know.
monsieur. Yeah, bonjour, monsieur. Comment ça va? You know, you say it in a certain way.
Oui.
If I said, so you can speak in that way. Or I say, sawadika, sabati mai. Okay. So you get an idea of where in the world that sounds. G'day, mate. How's it going? All right. Okay. What are you hearing? If I was let's step into the Irish accent. So we're going to Southern Irish accent. So I might talk very fast. I'm speaking in English, but I'm talking with an accent. But it's so fast, you might not understand the Irish accent going on, or the Northern Ireland accent. Or if you're from Manchester, you see, you're talking a bit like that. So there's lots of different accents.
I find it funny that here we are, us in America, that we speak English, but we butcher the crap out of your language. I mean, we laugh when we hear the word schedule, but that's the way it's supposed to be said. We call it schedule, and you guys probably laugh at the way we say it.
Yeah, I mean, what do you drink that comes out of a tap?
Water.
Yeah, but it's got a T. In the middle of it, it's got a T.
Water.
But that's, so you say water, but that sounds like it's got a D in it.
Yeah.
So it's no longer butchering the crap out of it. It's a style. It's a style of talking. Yeah. And we can take any word, and you said schedule and schedule, and they're both right.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point about what's true to you. Somebody could say, hey, this is the way that I see the world. And you see this on YouTube. I always describe it as like, if you imagine a YouTube video with a little lamb bouncing around, it's like running around a field, and everyone says, oh, how sweet, a little lamb bouncing around a field. And then somebody else writes after that, mint sauce. All right. And then it goes, I'm a vegan. I think that's disgusting. And somebody else goes, reminds me of the Lamb of God. And the next person goes, I don't believe in God. And then all of a sudden, this video of a sweet little lamb has turned into war in the comments underneath. All right. So we all have that perception. So your question about how do you recognize it? There's a signature. There is an origin, energy. And if we tune into our higher self, the bigger part of us, we know where that comes from. We've got that built into us. We're not the lowest of low in the universe. We're not like at the tail end of the back end part of the planet. What's coming through us is our remembrance. 2020 is the year of remembering, not learning, remembering. We've already got that. That's obvious. And that's why more and more people are speaking light language. I have a friend who teaches Reiki, and they did a Reiki session on somebody who was a manager of a building yard, bricklayers, carpenters, plumbers. He came out of that Reiki session speaking light language and said, "What the hell has happened? What's going on?" And she put him in touch with me. And he spoke. I wrote it down. I told him what he said. He went and spoke to other people in the build, and a bricklayer had started speaking light language back to him as well. So what's going on? People are like, so this is becoming more and more important to understand. It's a natural language that comes from the heart.
So what is going on, though?
Dismissed.
I mean, why are people picking this up all of a sudden out of nowhere?
Well, they're remembering. It's being triggered. When you hear it, it's triggering. It's acting as a trigger within. The Kundalini energy, everyone has the Kundalini within them because it's the primal energy. It's energy that is ready to activate within everybody. One could say that a spiritual journey effectively starts when the Kundalini awakens. Everything prior to that is information leading, directing, moving somebody in their life away from third dimensional working, playing, sleeping, sexual relations, the third dimensional side of things, moving, hearing something, a trigger, reading something, and remembering within. That's the spiritual journey that we're on. And light language is a massive part of that because it's a way of carrying frequency from the heart into the world, into 3D, into 4D, into 5D. Okay, so that's what I've been studying. I've been looking at languages and then seeing that all the languages, French, German, Spanish, Latin based. Latin is a language of the mind. Greek language is the language of observation, forces, science. When you study the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Vedas, which is the Sanskrit language, it's the language of communication and ideas and thoughts and connection with the world. So languages have purpose. And we know with light language, it carries vibrational frequency. So therefore, hearing light language from somebody speaking can activate your own, can activate within you. And that's what I've been doing with Kalina Malnar. She's like a rock star light language because she can speak all the variants and move from one to another. And that she's and based on that, we've been providing webinars last year, and I'm bringing out. This is part of a webinar at the moment. The vibrationary. It's not a dictionary. It's a vibrationary, because light language is not conversation. It's not a language that you learn word for word. You don't learn vowels, consonants, sentence structures. It doesn't work like that. It's the soul talking to you. So it's about raising your vibration. If somebody was to speak light language and say, "Oh, they're saying they're from the Pleiades and they're happy to be here, and we're going to spend the next 2 months on your planet teaching you about our," it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. It's not a conversational. It's not an informational exchange. And but it's all about frequency. It's all about triggering. It's all about raising the vibration and helping you remember the connection to the soul.
So, well, a couple things that I want to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the vibrationary, you were mentioning that is going to be for sale. What? I don't think it was for sale the last time when you showed it to us the last time.
Well, for sale. The reason why I brought it out is because if I gave you a book on German poetry, you'd pick up the book and you'd look at it, but it wouldn't mean anything to you. So the purpose of the vibrationary at the moment is that it comes with a webinar which goes through what the purpose of the language is, how it works, how the words work, how the structure works. So it kind of needs a bit of tuition to take you through it.
Okay.
All right. Because the vibrationary on its own would not serve purpose. That's why we designed a course of webinars around it, because it needs to have a heart opening. It needs to have what's called the sacred heart. and the sacred mind and the voice to be able to allow the relax the palate and relax the throat in such a way that allows activation of the heart to trigger this internal language coming forwards, the voice of the soul, the voice of the higher self. So it sounds a bit freaky, you know. People go, oh, you know, if I start talking, it's like, is that like schizophrenia? You know, you got this voice from within. But children, you know, when children are very small, they you know, they may have an imaginary friends and they speak in this sort of babble language. If you ever, I know a next door neighbor had, I used to have neighbors wherever I moved to, all the children started speaking light language, or they start having imaginary friends and things. I seem to move to where people already did it. I'm not saying I triggered it, but I recognized it. So it's more common than we think. And it's normally like, oh, be quiet. Don't, you know, the parents like dismiss it. But we have to remember that the souls arriving at this time, the golden children, are pre-programmed. They already have an agenda. The soul is already born with the individual. It's not a case of them having to learn like we have to go through an awakening process. They're coming in with all that intact. It's going to be very interesting next few years.
The other question I had would be, okay, you know, I had a video maybe last week or the week before, where I was talking about starseeds and our human origins. And under that premise, you know, you have the Bible, the Adam and Eve story. You have Zecharia Sitchin, who said that we were, you know, genetically manipulated by the Anunnaki, and the Adama race was the final race. And then you have the possibility that we were seeded here from various star nations, which would explain the differences in blood values, A, B, and O, and RH values, positive and negative. It would explain everything. Now, under that premise, is it possible that, for example, if you spoke Italian, if you spoke Russian, German, each one of those that came here at that time were light languages?
From what I found so far, from moving from one place to another, you've got Ayamaran, Quechua, Portuguese, Spanish in South America. Okay, these are the local languages there. You go across to, and you've got Thai, Balinese, Indonesian, Malaysian, and Polynesian from Hawaii. So the various groups of languages are very, very similar, but they all have, every single one of them have the same derivative consonants within them, with the vowels, you know, ma, da, ka. They're just pronounced in different ways. Where I live, Koh Samui, Samui, all right, which is land of masters. Hawaii. Hawaii's, what's Hawaii got to do with Thailand? And yet you've got Samui and Hawaii, sort of 10,000 miles in another direction. Hawaii exists in harmony. That's what it means in light language. Ha. So you look at the consonants, you look at how words are broken down. You look at how the origins of how it's pronounced, how you create it. And then you look at each different language, you know, a Russian, or you've got Japanese, dozo, you know, arigato, dozo yoroshiku, hajimamashita. It's all consonants. Polish, dzień dobry, jak się masz. You might pronounce it differently, but all the consonants are the same. Da, you know, da, Russian for yes. But in light language, that means blessed.
So even people's names would be something different. Like what would Greg be in light language?
That's what I mean. It's not, a lot of the names that come out are I mean, we've got to have a look at titles. I'd say Greg doesn't quite work out as such. There's other reasons why names have come about since. But if you have a look at Sananda or Anananda, you know these words. These are titles. Lao Tzu, you know, a lot of the Thoth was Jahute. So they're titles, as opposed to individual names. So we've got to understand names came from titles. You had John the Baker. So what you did became a name as well. So names are a little bit different. What I'm talking about is locational names in terms of the vibration of the area itself. As I said, Hawaii in light language, Hawaii exists in harmony. Samui, land of masters.
Okay, so I came from a little place in upstate New York called Oneonta, Oneonta. Would that have any kind of Oneonta?
Right.
Pronounced Oneonta. Some people look at it and think it's pronounced Oneonta. It's actually an Indian.
Yeah, I was going to say you've got the one, isn't it? Okay. So on from that point is within. Okay. So what's contained or what's within. All right. That's a containment when you've got one. So it's everything that's within that. Okay. E is. So within An is happy. Sananda, Anahata, the heart, An. If you've got Ana, it's bliss. It's the next stage on. So An is happy. Ana, expansion, is an emotion that's expanded, becomes a bigger emotion, a higher amplified emotion. So you've got An is happy, and Ta is the self. You would use it in the terms of you, the integrated consciousness that is you. Who are you? You are your integrated consciousness, the self. So you've got Oni Anta is the happy self contained within.
You know, and that makes, thank you for that, because that makes perfect sense. When I dream, I would say at least 85% of my dreams, even though I've lived in Florida for, I don't know, 10, 15 years or whatever, but most of my dreams are, I'm going back to Oneonta and I'm doing something there, you know, but your explanation of why and what that means makes sense on why I would go back there. Of course I would. Going back to the self.
Yeah, but when you say makes sense, we've got to have a look at what that makes sense. We're not talking logical makes sense. We're saying you're feeling it makes sense.
Yeah.
You're like looking at that and go, yeah, that feels right.
Mm-hmm.
So we use the word makes sense. And I always look at how people use words when I'm doing sessions. You listen to how people put sentence structures together. Because when you talk, you're using your definition of the words you use. They may not be my definition. That's why you can have an argument with somebody saying the same thing, because you've both got different ideas of the definition of the words. And we know that in close relationships, marriage and partnerships, you can have big arguments about both being on the same subject because you have different derivations, different understandings. So make something that makes sense to you is what you feel. And this is the key moving forwards. It's not something that makes sense as in logically that fits into place, that can be proven, that has, you know, a kind of logical background. You're going, yeah, that feels right to me. And if you listen to the word Oneonta, it sounds like it's got Native American background behind it.
Definitely.
Because
Mohawk.
There's not, and that's what I'm talking about, where you recognize things. You don't look at Oneonta and go, oh, that's an English derivative. There's not an English town called that. It doesn't have an English feel to it, that it's come from England into America and been placed there, because it's based on those consonant sounds. And Navajo and Cherokee and Cree and all those other languages have that consonant, you know, on that takwa, on the tak, you know, or be said in a certain way as well. So the way that you say it would create a different vibrationary feel than, say, if a Native American would say it.
Right.
And that's the key with light language as well. When you speak any language, you could say bonjour in, you know, French, but you could say bonjour. See, if I spoke normally at my level in Thailand, and I said Thai words in my native English accent, they wouldn't understand, even if I spoke the word Thai, you know, the Thai words, because it needs to be done with a particular accent and an energy and a tone. So I've got to go up And I've got to say, if I said Sawadee Ka, it doesn't mean anything. If I said Sawadee Ka, I've got to sing it. Sabati Mai. All right. It doesn't feel natural whatsoever to my voice. But unless I do it like that, it won't make any sense. And it's the same with accents. Again, when I was in Rishikesh, I was in a group of people. There's 60 people, all from everywhere around the world. I was the only person in the room that they were asking, where are you from? What do you do? Why are you here? And everybody was answering in English. And I stood up and I recognized that I was the only English person in the room speaking English. And I was hearing 60 different derivations of English accent saying the same thing in English, but in all the different variations of accent. And you can listen to an accent and go, okay, I can kind of work out where they're from. And it's the same with light language again, going back to that. You start to understand the origin as it passes through. You recognize it. There's something within that tells you recognize it.
At what age did you awoken on June 14th, 2009, and you said you had a walk-in. Was that walk-in Polaris AB, and was Polaris the one that does the light language?
The walk-in was actually a higher soul aspect of myself, because at the time the Kundalini energy rose up and went up straight through the heart. It happened on a flight, on an airplane flight on the way back from Tunisia. I've been over to North Africa. That had resulted in the third eye opening. The Kundalini took place, pierced up through the heart, through the throat, the pineal, brilliant bright white. I won't go into detail. I've written about it very much in my ebooks that I produce. Out through the crown, and then virtually resulted in my body over the next 3 or 4 days, starting, I could feel it's like a radiation poisoning, disintegrating, couldn't cope. I called on everything. You just call on, hey, I need some help here, big time. And that's when the walk-in took place. That was on the 18th of June, 4 days later, 8 o'clock in the evening. So I'm being very precise on it, because for me, it was like yesterday. It's so the way it happened. I virtually turned myself over and said, I don't know what's happening here. I'm falling apart. I'm dying. It's a dying process for me. 2 hours later, I woke up and went, this is a new body. This was a brand new body. I felt refreshed, energized, high, and I was looking around, and I was the whole world was different. It was like that rose-colored glasses kind of thing.
Did you notice anything different about you that was, for example, I've had a number of walk-ins, and there will be things like one of my recent walk-ins, all of a sudden I was listening to swing music, which I never listened to. You know, anyone that knows me, I'm
bit of a contrast to your
hard rock guitar, leading rhythm, but now I'm listening to swing music from the 40s and 50s. Was there anything that you noticed within yourself that was different?
That's what I was going to lead on. Within the 4 days, there was the walk-in itself, and that was a higher soul aspect. So straight away, it was a higher version of me, you know, like a future version of me. That was the soul aspect of the walk-in. And then after that, within the same day, that was I had the embodiment of Polaris AB. Now this is the embodiment of a star power, a star wanting to get involved with the ascension of the planet and merging. So this was a merger with me. So this is like the consciousness of Gaia, but this is a consciousness of a star, Polaris AB, which is a star just behind the North Star, Polaris, and myself, my soul merging together. And that's when all the information and everything started coming through. So what then took place after that is that overnight with the Kundalini, I stopped eating meat. Just stopped. I stopped smoking. I've been smoking for 20 years. I just stopped smoking. I just switched the TV off and never put it back on, and don't watch any television at all. Okay. Within a year, because I had plans, I'd left my job. I've been in for 25 years. I was corporate, city, financial, insurance, business analyst, left-brained. That completely changed overnight.
It would have been funny if you went to your boss and told him in light language, I quit.
Yeah, it would have been. But you know, I may as well speak another language. I mean, I think I went back speaking Arabic because I'd learnt some Arabic over in Tunisia during that time. So, you know, it's like maraba, and aflam came through at that point. So I was getting different, at that time, different languages coming through. So I was having ancient Arabic, Sanskrit. There were quotes from the Quran, the Talmud, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gitas, the Kabbalah. So it was coming in different forms, and me trying to understand this whole process. So yeah, it was very much about Place became and you know, illuminated that and elucidated that, and I've been writing ever since. And you're saying the various walk-ins, it's different parts of you, of your soul aspect coming through and presenting remembering of those different lives to you. Yes.
There's a question in the chat room on YouTube from Linda Love. She goes, "Oh my God, I need a walk-in. I want to quit smoking. How do I get a walk-in?"
Oh, interesting. A walk-in to quit smoking. All right. That's like saying you're going to change your entire character just to quit smoking. Well, you can. And the whole point is, for me, I mean, as I said, after Kundalini, the smoking, the everything, I got divorced within 2 years. I'd sold my house. I loved my house. I grew bonsai trees. I had 25 bonsais. I tended a garden. It was like a bowling green. All of that went. Every single thing I was into. I had a computer business. I was writing websites, graphic design. All of that went within a very, very short period of time. So there's nothing left of that life. What I want to, and what you go through physically, mentally, emotionally, to change everything in your life. So I'd say if you want to quit smoking, change everything else in your life, and you have no need to smoke. You've got to see the reason why you smoke. There's a reason why you do so. If you remove the reason, then you have no need to smoke. And I know people say, well, that's, you know, it's easier said than done. But it's the fact that you need to smoke is because of the rest of the lifestyle that's around it. So to change anything in your life is to say, if you were to say, I'm going to stay where I am, I'm going to stay in my house, stay in my job, stay doing what I do, but I want things to change. I want a better job to come to me. I want a better house to come to me. Sometimes you have to sacrifice. I always say, sometimes you have to sacrifice everything to gain one thing. Where's your focus? What is it that you want to focus on, that you want to do? Are you prepared? How much are you prepared to sacrifice of everything else to get that? That's the whole point. Change has to happen. That would be my answer.
So, well, what Linda was asking about the walk-in process, my only answer is I've had a bunch of them. My ex-wife and my daughter would know that as soon as I have a new one, they knew. But I think it happens on a higher self level, at a much higher level than what we're at right here, right now. For me, it just happens, Linda. You know, and I imagine
you can
that
ask
if you
for
put
it
out there, and you know, ask Creator, Source, Universe, you know, and just put it out there, saying, "Hey, I've had it. My soul is tired. I need a recharge. You know, please help me." Something along that line.
We've got to define walk-in. You know, anybody listening to that for the first time, I'm always aware of the use of language. And you and I are talking about walk-in, and we're going, yeah, I understand what that means, and I understand. But anybody listening go, I have no idea what a walk-in is. What is this word? You know, it's basically an aspect of your soul that gives you a different insight on your life at that moment. So I think you would describe that when a walk-in comes in, it creates a change. So we could remove the word walk-in and just go, it's a different way of looking at life in that moment. When you have a realization or what's in psychological terms called a breakthrough, you look at life from a different angle. You were looking at it in one way before, and all of a sudden something happens at the change and you no longer see it in the same way. So you're at a different level of and this is what's happening each year with the frequencies. When you expand frequency, you take on board a whole new level of information. Every frequency carries information. So the walk-in process effectively is you moving through frequencies and becoming aware of the world with a new insight or a new way of looking at it. You look at, for example, GMO crops. You could be in uproar about GMO crops, but there's a bigger picture. there's a reason why there's GMO crops and vaccinations. I know it's a subject that you've been looking at recently as well. There's always a bigger picture behind. Are these things mistake? You mentioned about Zecharia Sitchin earlier on and Anunnaki. How much do you want to focus on that, or do you want to focus on your own individual ascension process? Is it drawing you in? Are you spending your time researching something? Do I want to know every past life I've had? Or do I want to concentrate on my life right now and where I'm going with it? So it's a point of focus. You change when you want to change your focus. All right. But if you're getting involved in a particular aspect, conspiracy theories, or that's the overall term for anything that you're interested in, which the mainstream says, oh, we label that as conspiracy. No, it's not conspiracy at all. It's an interest. It's a focus. Okay. It helps you to understand a bit more about the world and yourself too. But that can create walk-ins. Go on. Sorry.
So at what point did you learn the light language? Was it shortly after, the 18th, or was it something that happened maybe within a year after your awakening, or?
Within Polaris AB, which is 4 days after the Kundalini, with Polaris AB arrived as sacred geometry. Okay, so I spent the first year, 2009, 2010, working out what the hell would happen. I didn't know any spiritual terms. I had no spiritual background. Kundalini, what was that? It was a case of finding out the process that I'd been through and then adding the labels, working out why these energy areas were in me. It burnt through my emotions. I had to relearn all the emotions one by one in the first year. You'd wake up in the morning and go, wow, I've got this dark blue energy. It's swirling around in the bottom of my stomach. It's pulling in. I can't breathe. It's difficult. My diaphragm's frozen. And it's like, I'm feeling really down. I don't want to get engaged with the outside world. That's depression. Oh, wow, I'm going through depression right now. But what it showed me was the equation of emotions. That's another book that's coming out. The algebraic equation, the frequencies, the colors. All right. So there's so much information. It's like, what do you focus on? What do you concentrate on? So, so that was a process that I had to go through that revealed things bit by bit. And it was a remembering. It's always about remembering. We're not here to learn now. You've already come in equipped. Okay, so it's a remembering process. It's going inwards. It's all within. We keep hearing this. It's all within. So your walking process reveals what is the different parts that are within you, the soul journey that you've been on.
So when you started getting this remembering of the light language, was it a remembering of the complete language altogether, or was it just like a little at a time, or? Well,
what I was into there was that when Polaris AB came in, it was given to me as sacred geometry. So I don't have a thinking process now, as such that I go through. Oh, did I leave the light on? Did I do that? I don't have any kind of like internal dialogue now. It's all sacred geometry. So I get symbols arrive. That's how I get it, and I have to turn that into a message that I write in the form of either light language or through into English. So there's a step down process involved. Now I'll just show you. I want to show you this one. So you'll recognize that as kind of sacred geometry. It's a geometric shape. It's symmetrical. So that contains vibration in the form of letters. So we could say letters, graphemes, hieroglyphs, cuneiform, whatever it might be. But they're all jumbled. So you have to like put them into order. This is the masculine principle. So there's the feminine creation. The masculine is applying something that that you can allow the brain to start to work with. So you go through that process until you get something that's coherent. So, for example, that process, if I took your name, Greg Prescott, Gregg, and I wrote that out letter by letter, okay? So there's your name in linear form. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, if I want to turn that back, I want to turn it that way. So I've changed your angle at 90 degrees now. Okay. Then I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring it all together. Now you've got a jumble of all the letters all overlaid over each other. Okay. So if you had all the letters overlaid, you cannot understand that. That is what that shape is. And it's the job is our job on Earth is to work our way through dimension bit by bit by coming out that way, see, that way, and then turning it sideways. So what you've got in terms of third dimension, I'll just give an idea, is that third dimension, you rely on depth perception. When you look at anything, you're seeing it in 2D. You're just seeing different layers and you get an idea of depth depending on how light bounces off it. You're not seeing in 3D. When you've got a tree in front of you, you're not seeing around the back of it or from the side. It's not 3D. So you have to be in 4D to do that. 4D is the mind. So if I said, imagine a yellow school bus in America and walk all the way around it. In your mind, you could walk around the front of the bus, the side of the bus. You can't do that just in one position in the world, in reality. You can't walk all the way around it. You have to go into a different dimension to do it. So in 3D, we see 2D. In 4D, we see 3D. In 5D, we see 4 and 3. So fifth dimension effect is all it is a shift of perception. It's still physicality. It will still feel like physicality, but you have a different perception and you overlay those perceptions. So light language, it's, sacred geometry in itself is understanding all the vibration all at once and then turning it into something that's coherent that we understand. Hopefully. I didn't want to get all scientific and from that point of view, I'm trying to explain
it's actually quite fascinating. I had a kind of a recurring dream where I see this sacred geometry flying through the air and it lands in the ground in front of me. And nice. I have to walk through like a portal to cross the other side to see what it is. And my intuition is that it contains all the knowledge of the universe in this sacred geometry. But if I cross through this portal, I might not be able to come back through and I may not ever see my daughter again. So I never go through, but I don't realize that it's just a dream and I should walk through.
Okay, yeah, lucid, nice. I like that. So that's nice. I'd love to have dreams. I don't have things that I remember as dreams. I can't remember, but that's a great one. Lucid dreaming is when you get involved with it. You say, right, okay, I'll go through as long as I can come back again. So you make yourself, you can make a statement in that moment. But I know that you've got that connection with your daughter because you've mentioned her all the time, and I love the love that flows between you. It's very obvious to anybody that knows you. The amount of love you have for your daughter, it's fantastic that you get to come to a planet and feel that amount of love towards another being. You're right. You've got the chance to do that at this time, right in the here and now to be able to do that. And I don't think anybody can doubt that love that you have for her. So that dream is showing you, when are you prepared as a sovereign being, as a cosmic being? You want to be here because there's somebody else you want to be here with. And this gives you, this gives you a chance to get away from that, but you don't want to because love holds you here. So you don't want to walk through the door because that will open up the rest of the universe to you. But your love is keeping you here where you are right now. I mean, that's the dream interpretation. And that's wonderful. We're here to experience love. Experience love, not to feel love. The whole idea of the planet, the whole idea of third dimension is to feel it, all right? Isn't it great you get to feel all the emotions?
Unconditional love. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, but unconditional. Well, that's when we have to look at what love is. And because there's 7 billion different ways of experiencing love on this planet. Everybody has something different, what they think love is. But for me, it's the flow of the unity consciousness without resistance. There's nothing between you and the point of focus of your love. There's nothing in between. What we call the conditions. So anything where you've got energy flowing through you, where you're not judging it, you're not trying to label it, you're just allowing it to be, is love. Because there's nothing to say, oh, I'll love you if you love me back. I'll feel this way about you as long as you show me that you feel the same way. So when you have a daughter relationship, she's always going to be your daughter. That's never going to change. So you can just love her forever because that isn't going to change. She's not going to be, you can't get divorced from her or, you know, or separate or what have you. It's just there. It's always going to be there. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I've got 2 sons and so I know the feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an amazing feeling. What would you give us a sample of some light language and afterwards say what it means, what you told us?
I'll go through. See, I've gone through different countries and learned so many different languages, but I don't spontaneously speak light language in that way because there are so many different variations that what I've learned in order to, anybody knows that when I'm doing the webinars with Kalina, she'll start to tune in and I go, oh, there's Thoth, or that's Bashar, or this is Sananda, before she started speaking, because you feel the energy coming through and I recognize that the energy signature. It's like if you were on the telephone and somebody rang you and they went, hi, Greg, you go, ah, hi, you recognize the sound, don't you? Recognize somebody just said, hi, Greg. That's a very narrow field for you to be able to recognize who it is on the other end of the phone, isn't it? They're not giving you much, but there's something that helps you to recognize that. So it's the same as light language. I'm an interpreter, I'm a scribe. I write what comes through me. So I'm not talking light language. And it's hypocritical. I'm writing books on it, explaining to everybody else light language, and I don't speak it myself. But yeah, I can go through some of the statements that have come through to give an idea.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I'll just go through it first of all, because this is what we're doing in the webinars, just go through. So if we have a look at the words that a baby produces, the sounds that they make, you know, is it any coincidence that the word papa and dada, the first words that a baby speaks, the male comes along and says, he's talking to me. That's the masculine principle all over. So papa, the baby's not saying father, it's not saying daddy. These are words that have been added by language to say that's what the baby's talking about. The baby doesn't have any meaning when they say it. It's just the way that they work with vibration passing through the throat. So we're the ones that attribute the meaning. But you find papa and dada nearly in every language, every culture around the world. So you've got pa is love, but it's got a silent H. It's funny that in French, the H is silent. Many languages, the H character is not said. And we find the same in light language. Pa, P-A-H. The H is not pronounced, but it's sounded. Pa. Okay, so papa. So in light language, that is the flow of love, but the H is never written. Because H, Thoth explained that the H is silent because love is the flow of living consciousness. It carries a vibration that's beyond the senses, beyond understanding, and is represented by that which remains silent. So love in its entirety, our human idea of love is contained. Unconditional love is, the human alone cannot know unconditional love. One has to be one with source to know the full extent of love. So for the meanwhile, we have H to carry that energy into the beyond.
I beg to differ. I had a
yes,
I had got a vision of myself standing in front of myself when the event happens, when the earth is flooded with this white light, and at that point in time, you feel this love. And yes. I've explained it as, you know,
but that's when
one thing that you love more than anything in the world. For me, it's my daughter. Yeah. Magnify it by 1,000,000 times, and I'm underestimating it. That's the love that you're going to feel.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You have to be with oneness. The human experience doesn't have that. You had to go through that experience. The same with the Kundalini. The brilliant white light that you saw is when you and oneness are together. So you're experiencing love without any boundaries. There's no definition. There's no boundaries. That's oneness. And that's when you experience love. What I'm saying is the human condition on the day by day, the third dimensional day by day, doesn't have that built into the human experience. It's only when you go within and you learn to find a way to the oneness that you experience what you've just said. So you beg to differ, absolutely. But in the same way, we're talking about the same thing. When the human and the oneness become together as one, that is love without boundaries. That's love with no conditions or no resistance. So we're in agreement.
Yes.
So Ka, we know we've got Mer, Ka, Ba. We know this is the energy field around us. Mer is plasma. Plasma is the big key word at the moment about light. We used to talk about light. Now people talk about plasma, because plasma is the energy of light in more densified form. So it's particle light. That's what we talk about when we talk about plasma. So Mer is light as the intelligence light. We see that as biophotons. If anybody lies on their back and looks up at a blue sky, you'll see squiggles. You'll see these tiny points of light with like a black ring around them, and they move around and they come in and they disappear. Yes? Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Yeah. So everyone can see that, and people go, oh, that's in the eye. You know, that's floaters, or something, they call them floaters in the eye. It's not. It's what's known as adamantium particles. They come into existence from 0 point. They look for a reason to be. They're looking for intention. What do I need to become part of? And if there's no use for them, they disappear out to 0 point again. Now I call these an army of little helpers, like crystals. You can use those. You can send messages using adamantium particles to other people. There's lots of things you can do with adamantium particles. Later on, we can use them to regrow things. You can regrow teeth or work on the body. This is what the Syrians teach, and the Arcturians teach in their light chambers and things. Anyway, that's another story. So we got Mer, which is light. Ka is the soul or spirit. Okay, and Ba is the body. So Mer, Ka, Ba is the light spirit body, the light body. So, right, so we know that as the light body. So Mer, Ka, Ba becomes, yes, it's in Egyptian, but they use light language. Egyptians was the closest, the ancient Egyptians, the Chem, the language of Chem, was the closest human version of light language, because they were taught by the gods, by Thoth, by the other gods at the time, who spoke light language. So it became part of the Egyptian language. Same as Sanskrit. Sanskrit comes from the gods. Who are gods? They are self-realized individuals. All right, this is why they were deemed as gods, because they were self-realized, you could say. So Ra, I am Ra, is transition of light into matter. So it's the movement of light itself into densified form, matter that we know. That's Ra. So anything that comes from the sun, all the particles on Earth comes from the sun in terms of the elements, elementals, elements. So that's Ra. Sa, S-A, Sa Baba, Sai Baba, things like that. Master. Sensei has that as a derivative as well. So Sa is master. Na, I am. Naga. This is the serpent energy. Naga means I am here. That's what Naga means.
That's
Gaia.
interesting, because when I say Oneanta, sometimes I call it, well, locals will call it Oneana. We won't pronounce the T, but it'll give it the NA at the end instead. It's almost the same thing.
It's interesting because you remember what I said about An means happy. So happy you, if you change Ana, you're saying bliss. Anananda, blessed. I am blessed in spirit, Anananda. So you pronounce it and you say Anna instead of Ata, Anta. Was it Anta? Anta.
Oneanta.
You're changing
Oneana.
it from happiness to bliss, and bliss is happiness without boundaries. I have no idea. Happiness is normally as a reason. I'm happy because something's going on. Bliss is just like, I'm just filled with, I've got no reason. I just feel amazing. I've got the liquid fire. I've got this energy and around the sacred, I can feel my sacred heart expanding. I've got this bliss in my chest, and I want to overflow it to the rest of the universe, So that's what we call Anna. That's why it's Anahata. Anahata, the heart, which is when you and bliss become one. That's what Anahata means. So yeah, so this just just different versions that babies speak. As I said, ra, sa, na, ta, ha. We can double it, ha, ha, mama, baba, papa. So it's doubled up. So da is blessed, dada. So we hear the word daddy, it's blessed. So if we have a look at some statements, so if I take these constants, which appear in different languages, and I have shomara timekia, shomara timekia, seek yourself to become one that is knowing. Seek yourself to become one that is knowing. Okay, that's the message of light language. It's not, hi, how are you? I'm from the Pleiades. All right, I'm here for a couple of weeks to teach you about your heart. It's not conversational. It's not communication. It's what your soul wants to communicate to you as the furthest point away from the soul, the third dimensional body and the mind understanding. It's saying, I'm here, you're one with me. Seek yourself and know yourself. Okay. Tama umina na Torah. Torah, it's interesting. Glastonbury Tor. Tor means heart in light language. Heart chakra. Torah is heart chakra. So it's built into our everyday language. We're speaking light language every day. So when you say Tama umina na Torah, you are the voice of all that is when you speak from your heart. So when you connect with your heart and you talk, people feel your words. They know people. That's the whole point about politicians and finance and other people. You know when I don't know why people think they can get away with writing things and talking now without realizing that people know when they're lying. People know when you're not telling the truth. You can feel it now. You know, the empathy side of things is switching on. There's no point in trying to kid people what you are when you can clearly feel that they're being false. I don't know why people still do it. You know, you can't kid your higher self. You can't kid source. There's no point in trying to portray something you're not. And that's what the language is trying to show you. So another, Kina Mase Temakora. Sacred truth is the wisdom that comes from purifying the self. Sounds like Bible, doesn't it? It sounds like words from the Bible, but it's not, it's the heart. Where do you think the Bible came from? People that wrote the holy works. It comes from within, which is why it sounds very, very similar. And when you start translating Sanskrit, you start to see the same kind of poetic language. You have to feel it into it to understand it. Sacred truth is the wisdom that comes from purifying the self. Walk into a coffee shop and say that to somebody. It won't mean anything, will it? You have to feel that. You have to know what that means. Sacred truth. Well, what's that? See, what's true to me, it may not be true to you, because I might have a different angle of how I see something, which is what I'm saying. You might use the same words to each other and have different meanings. Light language gives you a central meaning, a central thread. It's truth. You can't change truth. It's immutable. So we only know truth when we know oneness. So that's the whole point of light language. It connects you with the oneness within. You've got this, you know, you've got source inside you talking to you. I mean, and the feeling of that when it flows through, it's, you know, we talked about oneness, that feeling you got in the brilliant white light, how you felt in that moment. You said, I beg to differ, because I felt. Can you imagine that feeling every single time you got light language coming through you? Because it's coming from the same energy. It is the same energy. Okay,
it's beautiful.
It's light with no conditions. It's light with no resistance. And you're talking it. There's nothing better. I'm not doing that. I'm feeling it. It's sacred geometry. It's not a verbal form for me, but you still feel the frequency and the energy within. So I'll give a couple more, because I've written hundreds. You know, this is talking to many, many different people who speak light language and saying, what am I saying? People saying, what am I saying? Tara Torame, Shakina Toraki. As you become all that is in your heart, you start to know all your heart knows. You begin to know, to say. Okay? As you become all that is in your heart, as you surrender to what's coming through you, you start to know all that your heart knows. And your heart's connected to oneness. So you can go out there and read books and do workshops and all the rest. That's fine. It's great. That will give you coherence and understanding from other people's points of view. But always, always, everything you need, it will always come from within. And you can connect with it. You can hear somebody else talking about a subject and go, I love the subject, but I have no idea what they just said. All right. Or you can go within and connect with what your soul knows that you, in a way that you will understand. So it's always about the heart. And we can intellectualize it and try and understand it and write books about things. But at the end of the day, you know, people have been monks and things for years. They've been studying for years how to connect with the heart. We're not going to do it overnight. Everybody has to go on their own journey to work their way through the frequencies and find the journey within. Every single person has to do that. It's not just going to be handed out to the whole planet just like that. It can't. What, otherwise, why are you and I bothering? If, you know, if a financier in the city is just going to get it handed to him, and he's got, you know, I've been taking money and stealing off people for years. I don't care. I'm doing okay. You know, I work in the city. I make money. Oh, by the way, the planet's going to suddenly make you an ascended master because everybody else is going that way. It's a journey for all of us. We all have to go through it. He's not going to want to be ascended. I've got money coming out of my ears. I've got a lifestyle I like. Why do I need to change? Well, the planet's changing. You're going to find it more and more difficult holding on to where your position, where you are, while the rest of the planet is moving frequency. You'll start to see the third dimension disintegrating in terms of the coherence won't be there for that world because Gaia's not going to support it. I'm going to withdraw the energy from what holds together third dimension because I'm already in fifth. And I'm now withdrawing the energy. You want to come along with me? Brilliant. All right. On my planet, this is where we're going. But anybody who wants to hold on to third is going to find it more and more difficult every year. And I always say it's like bricks in a wall. All right. Any organization, any government, any whether you want to call it Monsanto or Bayer or Glaxo Wellcome, whatever you want to call it, it's made of people. And people are like bricks in the wall. And one by one, they're waking up. And if you take enough bricks out of a wall, the wall comes down. Walls are a very good way of describing things. Barriers, you know. I'm going to build a wall to separate us from other people. I think we know who we're talking about here. You know, so walls is a good metaphor at the moment to have a look at. But all walls are made of particles, are made of parts. And if the parts start coming out one by one, like people in an organization, the rest of it collapses. That's how we're going to see it done. As I said, there's always a bigger picture.
I always use the metaphor of the pyramid for the same thing. Once the bottom of the pyramid unites, the rest will collapse. Yeah,
yeah. Pyramids are really important. We have to look at the 13 stages of the pyramid, the 13 steps, like you see in Chichen Itza and other ones. So pyramid, when people open up to their spiritual journey and awaken, they're listening for, right, okay, I'm awakened now. Who's doing what? Who can tell me what I need to do next? So the base of the pyramid always is that, what workshop can I do? Who do I need to listen to? Who's telling me, oh, they're talking about the ascension symptoms. I can relate to that, so I'll follow what they've got to say. So the base of the pyramid is always about information. It's all this big exchange of information going on. Who can predict what's going to happen next? When's the next big date going to be? Is it going to be 2-2 or 3-3 or 4-4 or 5-5? And let's restart that again next year. So it's always about the next date, the next. We need to concentrate on what's going on right now, not the projection forwards. Otherwise, you're spending the whole time waiting for a certain date to arrive, thinking it's all going to change. And then the next day, and the next day, and it's like, what happened? Now, who else is going mentioning the next date? So people are leapfrogging from one date to the next. but it's not. That's not how the essential process is working. It's about frequency. It's about the individual expanding their awareness within of their frequency. And when you change frequency, we know through Abraham Hicks, when you change your awareness, the vibration that you're focused on will bring to you what you need. Yes? Okay.
We have a question in the Zoom chat from
Yes.
TL, and she's saying, curiosity, isn't it so that some of us, if not all, carry this activating language within our frequency light codes such that speaking it isn't necessary?
Well, I agree. But are you going to, if you switch on the TV and there's a foreign language film on, okay, so you're watching a whole film filled with people talking, being emotional, acting out, okay, are you going to switch the subtitles on to understand it? Or are you going to sit there and watch the whole film in another language you don't understand, hoping that you're going to find some way of bridging a gap? So by speaking it is bringing it into third dimension. I mean, we could say that anything, you could say, I can paint in my head, I can paint masterpieces, but unless you bring it into the world, nobody else is going to benefit. So the whole point is the connection with bringing it into third dimension is so other people can benefit. And that's the point of being here. Look at my creation. How do you feel about it? I'm going to tell you how I feel about your creation. That's the point of language, to communicate and pass on to another how we feel. You would want to tell your daughter, I love you. I could say to you, Greg, I love you. Right now, I could say to you, I love you. Okay. What do those three words mean to you? Is that sexual? Or does that just mean that I have a flow of energy towards you where I can find no resistance between who you are and who I am? So would you rather say, oh, I'll feel that love and send it rather than say it? So we've got the ability to talk. We've got that ability to communicate. So do it. Bring it out into the world. Oh, people might not appreciate it. They might not like what I do. I better not speak light language. They might think I'm crazy. Yeah? Somebody will think you're crazy. Somebody else will love what you do. Everything you do will always have two extremes. It's a duality universe. Whatever you bring into the world, somebody's going to hate it, somebody's going to love it, and everyone's going to fit in between. Everyone else.
At some point, though,
yes,
we're going to move beyond language, and it'll be telepathy. Will that telepathy include light language being sent back and forth, or will it just be within our own language that we understand, or will it be a combination of both?
It's vibration. Everything's vibration. When you don't think in English, when you channel, you've not got an Arcturian speaking to you in English. Hey, buddy, how you doing? All right.
True.
So it's vibration. So you do not think in your language. What your interpretation of your thinking is where the brain gets involved with the vibration and its translating process. So when I get sacred geometry and I have to turn that into a message, that's what I've explained. I showed the image earlier on of the geometry and then the step down process with the letters. Okay, so that's me bringing into the world what exists originally as shapes. Okay, so that's our job. Our job is to remember and bring through in whatever form that we get it, wherever origin it came from, the star-seeded origin that we have, and bring it through into this world and say, what do you think of this? And the first thing you're gonna, if you do it with your family's the one that's seen you grow up. They change, your parents change your diapers. They mopped up the sick when you threw up. You suddenly start speaking light language, they're gonna go, I don't know this person, right? So there's a fear, but it's overcoming that fear is part of being on the planet at the moment. Is to overcome the fear, to bring out yourself into this world in whatever form it takes. We've got to get used to that. Until we start doing it with our own humans, how are we going to accept other celestial species being around us as well? We're not even accepting our fellow humans and what they're bringing through. We're disagreeing with them. We're arguing. We're saying no. I'm quite happy you saying to me earlier on, I beg to differ. I'm going, that's great. Let's talk about this. Let's see why you have a different way of looking at something than I do. I love that. I have no problem with somebody saying you're talking. I had somebody in the talk once say, I don't believe in that crap. And I said, yeah, I don't believe in crap either. All right. So they have their point of view. We always base the world on our own understanding. And when it moves beyond our understanding, we go, oh, that's not real. And you go, that's true. For you, it's not. That's not your experience. That's not you. So I have no problem you seeing the world differently from me. I love immersing myself in culture where everybody's different and learning what it is that this is why I love moving around different countries and going somewhere for a couple of weeks and just going with the monks and just seeing how they do things and how they are, and just finding a way of having a conversation with a Thai monk on a mountainside who doesn't speak any English, and I don't speak any Thai to that degree. And yet we can communicate for 2 hours just by using gestures, pointing at things, and we find a way of communicating. There's no language going on. What you're talking about, telepathy. There's no language going on, but we're still communicating. And it's the same. Conversations with Sirian. If we go to Sothis, Sirius A, Sothis, third planet, felines, carrions, cetaceans, all right? The cats, the dogs, the dolphins, the whales of this planet. They're not talking in English. And they say, yes, we do use telepathy, but we will talk to each other in our mother tongue. We will do that because we like to do that. We like to be able to communicate using the apparatus that we have to communicate with. But on the whole, if we're talking to other celestial species, we need another version because our mother tongue won't work. So we're being introduced by more and more people. Mantoids have that. They have this very, very fast language. Fairies talk at high pitch. If you have people bringing through the Fae Kingdom, and that is like baby talk. When you talk to baby, hi, how are you? Come on, hi, is that sweet? You talk to animals, you do this high pitched voice. So I'm not very good at it. We change our tone. And emotion as well. When you're in a certain emotion, you think you can do that to me. You got another thing. See how we use the voice. Telepathy doesn't imply the emotion. So on the planet, in order to be able to talk in a communicative way, we need to be able to speak because we add accent, we add meaning, we add purpose to the way that we convey something. Otherwise, we become monotone and we start talking like that. We don't want to do that. We love being enthusiastic. We love conveying the information. Or as you said, if you're an introvert, you're like, well, maybe I don't quite love that. But if somebody talks to me, I'll be polite. But see, we have all these different characters or versions within us that depends on the person we're with, whether that person animates us, annoys us. We become different versions in response. So you're saying about moving telepathy. Yeah, great. But that's not why we're here. That's where we've come from.
We have another question here. And I'm going to unmute you, Michael. He had his hand up here in the chat room. If you want to ask away, feel free to.
So I was on the other night and got a chance to talk about unfailing love and, the language or the message that I'm here to help carry as well. And it sounds like we're all kind of on that same path together. And that is, it just seems so synergetical to what you're speaking about in the respects of, finding your self-love and your authentic self and connecting with your soul body and allowing yourself to love yourself, to share that with the world, sharing your authentic self and, spreading that
That's
love.
Great.
Because, I feel like, many people don't know how to do that, including myself. I mean, I had to learn as well. And I think we're all on that journey. And I just want to say how much I appreciate the conversation. I mean, I got cut off the other night and, it was just incredible for me. And, I don't even know, what to say other than that my spirit guides are with me on that night because you guys, well, my grandmother actually passed away when I was on here the other night talking to you guys about this project. So for me, it's going to be the most important thing in my life, because I know that my spirits and my family's behind the idea, and there's many spirits behind it. And it sounds like we're all in the same mission. But I think we need to all learn that that there's no condition to the love, and it's unfailing, that there is no duality.
I love that term, Michael. Thank you. I love that term you use, unfailing love. I've not heard it put in that way, but I can see what you're saying in it. You know, I understand it. I've never heard that term before, but I know exactly what you mean by it. So I can connect with you and that saying, just by the way that you've put those combination of words together. Unfailing love. It never fails you. It always looks after you. You speak about your grandmother, the energy comes through the moment you speak about your grandmother, your connection and your relationship. So thank you. I feel that heart connection the moment you mention your grandmother, how you felt. So you didn't say that, but it comes across in your words. So words carry vibration. They open, when you speak about love, you're showing me your heart. You're showing me how you feel about what you say. And that's a blessing. So thank you.
Well, I want to just say that I've been practicing this for a while, very heavily, and my life has just been incredible. Like we were talking about the portal earlier. I opened a portal and asked the universe for advice. With that meeting, you know, we got the EPA together with the Cherokee Nations, and we're working on this biochar project. And today I had the privilege of talking to the ancestor of Henry Ford, and we're going to replace a whole bunch of biofuels out of hemp. And it's just incredible.
You've got a job to do. Great. I hope you're documenting all this and getting that out there. Yes,
absolutely. But what I'm getting at is that we all need to find our own inner lights and love yourself, because then the energies will come around us. And, you know, our light bodies or water bodies here, once we change our own inner reflection, you know, we become the creator, and we become living in bliss, and we can create this, you know, heaven on earth together. But we all have to start with finding our own inner self, so that we can share that with the world, because that's the beauty of our own creation, our own divinity.
That's beautiful. What you just said, that last paragraph summed it all up. I'd love you to write that down, because that should go out there. That's a great summary, that last paragrapp you said.
I just want to let you know, all of this is, you know, streaming right now. So we've got it all down. Don't worry.
Good stuff. Keep doing what you're doing. All right. I'll be looking out for you. All right.
Appreciate you guys. And I just wanted to add a little bit to it, because it was just so much to my heart. And I just want to tell you guys to continue to shine your lights, because you're all so beautiful.
Oh, well, it's absolutely the same to you too. Okay. Well, blessings to you, Michael. Thank you for that.
Thank you, brother.
You got the right name for what you do.
Thank you, brother.
Okay.
So just real quick, if there's anybody here on Zoom that would like to ask Paul a question, just raise your hand and I'll bring you on. And I also put that out in the chat room on YouTube. Quick question for you though. Do your sons speak light language?
Oh, no, that's a good question. No, they're too busy being teenagers at the moment. All right. So I've got a crystal and an indigo. My eldest son, very much into computers. He's just gone through film college. So they're focused. They have focus. My second son, I know that he will be talking light language. He will be, because I can feel that's in his nature. He's very much in touch on the telepathic level. So two completely different sons, love them absolutely both equally, and really proud of who they're becoming. But not light language yet, no.
Just curious about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, nice.
What about the, you've written about the cosmic and solar high frequency particles. What does that have to do with our human evolution of what's going on right now as we go through this ascension process?
Fantastic. Okay. Cosmic particles. Bear with me. I'm just disappearing off screen a moment. Let's just see where. Okay. Cosmic particles are great. Okay. So we know that all the elements that we have on Earth all are of a third dimensional frequency. And crystals produced by Gaia can hold frequency, particularly quartz, as we said earlier with the t-shirts. Now, there are some substances on Earth, such as, I had this little guy made. So this is a little crystal skull made of, you can see the material, moldavite.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So moldavite's quite distinctive in its sort of glass-like appearance. It's a tektite. It's come from a comet that crash landed in Moldavia, Serbia, 15 million years ago. And it's a comet that came from outside of our solar system. So therefore it contains material that wasn't created by the sun. All right. So moldavite is particularly important because it can hold frequency, fifth dimensional frequency, to allow us to create form beyond the consensus of the unity consciousness on Earth. Everything we see around us and our interaction is all based on us all knowing what things are and teaching each other. So you need to be able to have something that can show you form beyond what the Earth produces or what the sun produces, okay? So moldavite is one of those, it's a messenger to be able to hold frequencies with forms that allow us, remember I said that all frequencies hold information. When you tune into a certain frequency, you'll find Guanyin, another one you'll find Saint Germain, or, you know, depending on the frequencies you tune into, you'll find beings that choose to exist within those frequencies. So with moldavite, that helps us step up to the higher frequencies. Not everyone can work with it. I wear it. I mean, I have all my power symbols that I wear from all the places I've been. So, you know, this is like the Ankh and the Chicana and the True Cross and the Naga. And so these are going on. So moldavite, not everyone can wear it because it can have an effect on the physical body as well. But it can certainly help with that process of tuning into higher frequency. So cosmic particles, your question, is that when you are around someone or something that is holding higher frequency, it starts to vibrate that within you, you know, like tuning forks. That's how healing works. Healing works with somebody with a higher frequency, holding that frequency around somebody else so that they can begin to come online with that attunement. Okay, that's how so every part of the body all has different frequencies to hold it together. That's the intelligent and consciousness of the body. So the heart, the organs, everything has a particular frequency. And if you've got somebody holding that frequency and amplifying it, then that area of the body and the person that's being healed is raising itself to the optimum level to create a healing process. So crystals are particularly designed for that process. So that's why various crystals have various qualities, just like the gods and the goddesses have various qualities and the archangels have various qualities. Everybody's got a job to do. So cosmic particles, you only need one cosmic particle to enter physically into the body, neutrinos, quarks, you know, these things that come in order for that to start affecting the frequencies around it. Now, we know this on Earth as radiation. Now, let's have a look at the word radiation with the word ray in it, the light rays. Radiation can make you feel ill. It can make you, I'm not talking about extreme nuclear radiation like exposure to Chernobyl. I'm talking about the fact that a light particle starts to have a physical effect on all the cellular cells around it that spreads. So you get things like flu, you get headaches, you get high-pitched buzzing that we spoke about the other day. You get all the things that we know as the essential symptoms taking place that come one day and then go within the next. It's not something where you've gone through an illness or whatever. So these are things that come in and go. Somebody could write about essential symptoms every day and get 50,000 followers because everybody's going to relate to that, what they're going through, what their bodies are going through. But this is the adaptation, the physical adaptation to higher frequencies and higher particles that are arriving. What's one of the main reasons why they arrive? Comets, meteorites. When we have comets come in, they're messengers. They just happen to have physical bodies as comets, as lumps of rock. But so's Gaia. So these are conscious beings that just have chosen a body of rock. We just have a body of flesh. So the whole point is, if a giant spaceship came into the, you know, the Earth, and we would treat that very, very differently than if a comet came past. We go, oh, it's a comet. So they take the form in which is acceptable to our level of perception, the Earth level of perception. And what's the best deliverer of all that? The sun. Because the sun carries the information in the frequencies, in the light rays. Sun gazing is vital for that. Meditating, just to still the mind, to allow the part to accept the particles into the body, and whatever that means. Hot flushes, vertigo, dizziness, pineal. When the pineal gets activated, it sets up a vibration that runs down the eustachian tubes in the ear and vibrates the inside of the eardrums. Tinnitus. You know, you talk about the notes of the chakras and how music can trigger the chakras. Music sound vibration is vital to the process. Why did you start hearing swing the other day and go, well, because your body needed those levels of music. You're like, why am I interested in swing? What's that? Yeah, why is that pulling me? I like my rock, you know, I like that, you know, bass music. And it's something, no, you need something more melodic. Yeah, I know, but swing, yeah.
It's funny, I ended up losing, I had a Moldavite ring that I lost at a Motley Crue concert.
Oh, no,
it was
brilliant.
It was Vince Neil, not Motley Crue, but yeah.
Okay.
Funny. But
well, there you are. So I mean, that Moldavite would have been doing its job with all the people around you. You know, you're like in a concert and you're like squashed with everybody. So you're passing on all your frequencies to everybody around you. All right. They're subject to that. When you go to a rock concert, you've got no choice but to feel the music. That's the whole point. You can put in a pair of earphones or what have you, but when you're there, it's like going to sacred sites. When you're there, it's completely different than watching it on television or reading it in a book, because you're experiencing the energy. You're part of that whole thing. You're one with the music. That's the whole point about, you know, with rock concerts and things, you're one with everyone around you for a brief moment in time. None of these people you talk to in normal life, but in that one moment, you're all one, and you're like, hey, brother, and you're all bouncing together, and you're one. And that's the beauty of those kind of get-togethers, isn't it? Now imagine doing that with let's have a rock concert for the whole Earth, where everybody's one, because it's the same thing. That in that moment, you're forgetting your differences. You're forgetting the cultural differences. You don't care where somebody's from or what their nationality is or religion, when they're bouncing next to you in a rock concert. It doesn't even occur to you. And that's what we want for the rest of the world.
What do you think about the sun when it changed from yellow to white? What do you think?
That's interesting,
happened?
isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, did the sun change from yellow to white, or did our perception of it change as the frequencies go up? Okay, so it's always perception. You know, the yellow side of things is where our attunement was. Now, the Earth is already fifth dimension. It's up to us now to reach that. So people will still see a yellow sun, the same as people will still see a flat Earth. It's what your consensus is where your focus goes. If enough people believe in a flat Earth, the science, the language, everything will be created around that. All right. So the difference between a yellow sun and a white sun is the way that you accept it, perceive it, believe it, and want to connect with it. Okay, that's all it ever is.
Okay. I got a couple questions from the YouTube chat room. Mark McDowell wants to know, how can I grow new teeth?
This is a great one. I'd love to do this too, because I did karate for a long time and Tai Chi, so my teeth aren't the best. Okay, all I can quote there is Syrian bird tribe conversation. So this is Carrion, it's the Carrion tribe, it's the bird tribe of Sirius A, Sophis, who said, those who aim for fifth dimensional energies, the first thing that they will do is to perfect the body. So at the moment, your body's looked after by body elementals, all right? And we need to make a greater connection with the body elementals as part of your team, what people call their spirit guides. So the body elementals is the part that looks after your body, automatic. So your consciousness and your body are merged, they're integrated, but they're not the same thing. The body is not, you do not look after your body. You do not heal. You don't think, oh, I want this to happen, and it happens. You go into a cooperative, symbiotic relationship. So it's a case of letting your body elementals know that how you want it to be. Now, I wouldn't be able to give, if I could give a precise definition of how to do something, which is what everybody's trying to do with all their various modicums, you know, and modalities and NLP and EFT. It's all pieces of a puzzle. How do you change particles into calcium and enamel? And, you know, adamantium particles is the basic particle. If you can influence the atom arrangement around an adamantium particle, you can concentrate them in one area, send your intention to change its nature into that of calcium, and then start to coagulate it in particular areas. So that's theory. I know how these things are done in theory about using adamantium particles, but in practice, we're not there yet. There's many, many things that are available in theory. You can pull in from the universe whatever you want, but it's not here yet. Yes. So that's why things like television, mobile phone, satellite, they appear at certain points in the timeline when we're ready to be able to do something with it. And we're not yet there where we can do this repair of the body because the frequencies aren't there to hold it in place. We need to be at the right frequency to be able to, you know, whatever the intelligent energy is that holds together a shape of something, the geometry of it, everything needs to have its own intelligent form. You can do it in fourth dimension. You remember I said about you can picture 3D. So in 4D, you can grow teeth. You can look into a mirror, close your eyes, and then imagine all your teeth having grown back. Not imagine growing them. Don't imagine growing them. Imagine them already being there. You always look for the end result. Okay, so you can do that in fourth dimension. Now, the next process is to bring that into third dimension, which is to make it happen in physical reality. It's like seeing a picture that you want to paint in your head, or an item of music where you hear it in your head, or what the person said about, you said about telepathy and then speaking. So everything we're trying to do is bring all that we can do in the higher dimensions into third, and then merge third into the higher dimensions. All right. So I'm going to say, whoever raised that, your job now, we can say that your job is to be able to learn the technique. All right. Just like somebody learns how to paint or somebody else learns how to play guitar, your job is to bring through how to grow teeth yourself. That'd be great. Wouldn't that be a contribution to the world?
See, I personally, I'm looking into this myself because, you know, one thing
well, you got great teeth.
Well, thanks. One thing though that I'm working on is all the codons in my DNA. We only have like 20 some odd of the 64 codons in our DNA turned on. If we can figure out, if one person can figure out how to turn on the remaining, 24 codons in our DNA, you can do anything. You can teleport. You can, telepathy. Every Claire known to mankind you would have. Yeah. So I'd imagine that if maybe that's another thing, Mike. This is what I'm doing. I've spelled it all out on In5D, how you can change your DNA right now. And this is what I'm doing. I'm working on it. And as soon as if I'm the first person to do it, I'm sharing this with everyone else. And if somebody else can do it, let us know too. Yeah.
But as soon as you can do something that becomes a threat to other people, let's have a look at Tesla. Let's look at the many, many people out there who are already doing things who then become a threat to the establishment. That's not to create fear. That's saying you've got to do something without fear. If there's consequences, the world's not ready for it. All right. So there are already people who've done things like this that know how to do it. There are masters. There are, the Chinese masters or Tibetan or wherever at Thai who can do all these things. They've learned how to do it, levitate. We know that. But until it becomes mainstream, until it becomes consensus, then it will be suppressed. And so if people don't know about it, it can't become mainstream. And that's why
it could
things
be
are
like
hidden.
The 100th monkey thing where, it happens to one person, then bam, bam, it's a chain reaction.
Yeah, there is a particular term of synchronization that Carl Jung introduced to say that when the television was invented, it was actually invented in 3 different places around the world at the same time. But John Logie Baird was the one who successfully made it commercial. There were other versions of the TV which were actually better at the time, but they weren't commercially viable to continue into mass production. So that's the point, that these things come to the earth at the right time, en masse. And it might take lots of people to try their various ways of bringing it through, and then one person's successful. I think Thomas Edison's a good one of that, you know, in that he was the one that played with ideas that other people were playing with and then made it a reality and commercially viable. I'm not going to say he stole ideas, that would be unfair, but he was the one that was able to create the finance. And we know about, you know, Tesla and copper wire and, you know, JT Morgan, there's the stories behind that. So there's many, many stories about individuals who've done something and then it's been suppressed. So absolutely go for it. But you've got to, we're at the right time now, I think, where people can do this, because then it becomes mass very, very quickly. The internet allows somebody like Keisha, I think there's a chap called Keisha who does a magnetic coil engine. And he's just put all the plans out. He's not interested in making money and turning it into a patent. He's just put the whole plans out on the internet. Anybody can make this, the Quiche engine. So yeah, I totally agree. I think it's the right time now. The Hunter's Monkey is totally the right way of looking at it. Yeah, I agree with you.
You know, and if you look at just our progression, and you know, with through inventions, we'll say, and what you see is a chart like that's stable. And then all of a sudden, you know, in the last 30, 40 years, it rises exponentially. I think that's mirroring consciousness right now too, where
totally
something magical is going to happen as we reach that crescendo.
Yeah. Well, we've got to have a look at culture. You know, I'm very much into civilizations and culture, and having a look at, you know, the American culture, the Americans, you know, from the 1700s now. In the space of time, you know, America as a nation has been on the planet in a blink. You know, the Chinese and the Roman period or the Egyptian period of, you know, they lasted a lot longer, and they had their own technology, but they all exist in the now moment effectively. So we've got to look at why now, why in this particular moment. And it's about communication. It's about the fact before, when somebody invented something, it was restricted to the area that they were able to progress it, to move it out of, the Bronze Age, you know, the Iron Age, etc. But what we find when you actually look back and remove the archaeological conditioning and blinkering is that different things were invented around different areas of the world at the same time, you know, spontaneously. So you've got evidence of, you know, bronze work here and on the other side of the planet, and with no connection. But there is a connection. There's always has been a connection.
We're drawing from the ether at the same time, basically.
Totally. So we're in a stage right now where the X, where you said the chart, the bell graph, all right, is the evolution of consciousness without restriction. That's wonderful. You know, life may be hard, but there's no better time to live. And we are the ones that are allowed to take the physical body and their consciousness and take that through the dimensional process. Wow. I mean, that's great. I'm a realist. You know, I stick with, there's no point in saying, once, I'm going to say to a certain degree, once you switch on the codons, then you'll be able to do telepathy and levitate and other. You can write about that all you like, unless you're doing it. We need to be doing it. There's no, I could write a webinar, say, hey, I'll switch on all your 12 strands of DNA if you come and do my webinar. I won't do that because I haven't got 12 strands of DNA switched on. Why am I selling something about something I can't do? Light language, in a way, I'm recognizing it's quite hypocritical. I've got a book on light language. So I write it all down. I can translate it. I can't talk it. All right. But there's I know the reason for that is because the way that I work with it internally, I just haven't managed to manifest it, you know, in terms of speaking it yet. But I understand it in the same way that I might understand Thai without being able to speak Thai. Or,
that's why I put it out there. That's why I put it out there on In5D about how to turn on how to activate your DNA, because all I'm doing is saying, this is what I'm doing, and take whatever I'm doing. Feel free to turn things around, add to it, take away from it, do something completely different. but just do something. And maybe together we can figure this out, how to fully activate all the codons in our DNA.
Well, there is a golden child out there. There is an 8-year-old out there right now who's got that mastered already. All right. They're growing up with that already in them, part of their destined process to bring that to the world. And that's the whole point of the evolution of consciousness. One person or another person or another person arrives with that. What are they going to do with it? They're not aware of it. That 8-year-old is not aware what they're going to be doing. Now let's turn that into 7 billion. Every single one has something to add to the consciousness that they can bring through. You just got to find it. So the only way to do that is to go within and see where the joy goes. See what you love to do. That, you know, the masterpiece painting is sitting inside someone. The piece of music, the #1 next year, sitting inside somebody. All right. So everything that you're talking about, someone somewhere has that already within them, ready to come through into third. So,
and it might just boil down to what we were talking about earlier, vibration. As we, as the collective raises our vibration, it just might click for all of us.
Totally. And things like In5D, right, allows people to come together and go and come away from like this conversation or other ones you have and go, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. Now, maybe if I apply myself to that, I can do something too, or that's triggered something in me. So platforms like this are vital. And thank you, Greg, for bringing people together and going, let's look at things in a different way to the normal mainstream and look at the possibility of what we can do as individuals and bring to the world, bring into 3D, because everybody's got something, everybody.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this is about. You know, it's great having people on like you, and I'm going to be bringing on a bunch more, you know, the contributing writers, but I'm also going to be doing lots of just amazing topics that we can all put our thoughts together on and share ideas and, you know, just bring the family together and say, hey, where can we take this and how much further can we go? Bringing
the family together. As you always say, you always like reach above your head and say, bringing the family together. Bringing star family together. Absolutely. Yes. So that's a skill in itself. I love the fact that your catch line is like, I'm an introvert. You know, I don't, you know, we talked about being on a plane the other day and said, well, I wouldn't want to talk to the people around me. And you're like, oh, and that, you know, that's a theme of yours. You know, I say I'm an introvert. Well, hang on, look what you're doing for the world. Look what you're doing by bringing people together. Is that an introvert? You've overcome whatever you feel that introvert is to do this.
The thing is, I had a galactic download that told me that I have to do this. It gave me the name In5D and said, you have to bring people, you have to interview, you have to do interviews, you have to do conferences and radio shows. I'm like, no, you got the wrong guy. And they're like, nope, it's you. And
that's a galactic excuse.
I'm doing it reluctantly.
Yeah.
I'm stamping my foot while I'm doing it.
Well, I would love you to say, if we talk again, I would love you to say, I'm doing this because I love doing this. Not I'm doing it reluctantly. Because remember what we said about resistance. I'm not telling you off, Greg, that's fine. It's about resistance. You're doing it. That's the whole point. You're doing it. Whether you want to add that introvert or resistance to it, you're doing it. And the fact is that you're doing what you love. You wouldn't do it. What's the incentive? Because you've been told to do it. There's something more than that. Who told you?
It feels right. It's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do. It is, because you and I get to talk. Unless you've done this, we wouldn't be talking. You've set this up. You know, you've invited me on. So thank you for overcoming your own restrictions to allow this to take place.
And once again, it boils down to my daughter, the unconditional love and everything. Because when I went to pick her up one time, she wasn't ready. And my ex-wife said, would you like to check out the trailer to The Secret? I'm like, sure. And I did. I was blown away by it. By the time Brittany and I got back to my house, I ordered The Secret. And The Secret's what basically told me to surrender to the universe. And I did. One day, you know, after being, you know, a successful child and family therapist, I knew there was something greater I had to do. And I dropped down to my knees and surrendered. And that's when I got that galactic download telling me to build In5D, host shows like this, bring on wonderful people like you,
Oh, that's a beautiful story. That's lovely.
Stuff,
Rhonda Byrne, yeah.
They even gave me the name In5D. So here we are, all of us.
You just said In5CD, and I hear you say In5D. So which one is it for the record?
My mother calls it In5D, but it's
okay. Because I recognize you said to somebody the other day, and I was like, I'm confused now what it is. So that's good. Yeah. So this is what we're aiming for, you know, and everybody at some point will feel from within the connection. I went from corporate finance, left brain. I was called Spock at work because I was completely focused on, you know, the left brain side of things. So Kundalini came and changed everything about me. No, you know, the house, you know, selling my house, leaving a business I've been in for 25 years, divorce, stop smoking, stop meat, stop TV, stop drinking, all in that week. You know, all of that was made clear to me in that first week that everything was going to change, and I've never looked back since. But that's what I mean. It comes from within. It's soul driven. You know, it's something that is within all of us for these things to happen at some point. It's not a case of us measuring ourselves against others. That's a big mistake I think people are making in the spiritual community. Or what are they doing? It doesn't matter what somebody else is doing. You're a unique individual. I know it's a big point that you raise as well. Doesn't matter what somebody's doing. When, you know, if somebody becomes, you don't not do something because other people are doing it. Michael's just said, true self-love of authentic self. Yeah, totally. Find out who you are and bring that into the world. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Totally.
People get, you know, maybe influenced by other people, which is great, you know, because all of us are showing what we have, you know, this is what we can do, and you can do this and more, you know. But to worry about, you know, where are my abilities? They'll come to you. Just you already know what they are. Just give it time. It'll happen. Don't think that, you know, just because I can see things before they happen, think it's going to happen overnight. It might happen overnight, but you might get something else that other people don't have, and it'll come to you.
I would always say when I'm doing sessions, is the key thing is, like, if you don't feel that you're progressing, remove where you are, remove what you have from where you are. So have a look at what restricts you. Have a look at how other people treat you. How do they see you? You know, what version are you creating to other people? So have a look at what holds you in place. Does the job define you? Does your relationship define who you are? You need to have a look at what holds you in 3D. If you want to move into higher dimension, you've got to remove what contains you within third dimension. You know,
a lot of that can be thinking of it. Addictions, like, you know, a lot of people, you know, are addicted to alcohol. You go to bars and stuff like that, you know, it's going to lower your vibrations. As soon as you walk into a bar, a lot of people don't realize this, but that's where a lot of negative entities will hang out at the top of the doorway, ready to jump right into the psyche, as whether you're entering or exiting. You know, you drink the alcohol and you're an open vessel for having something.
You're handing over your car keys. I always say you're handing over your car keys to somebody else. They can drive then from that point. Yeah, if you give over your house key to somebody, they've got access to all the rooms within you. You give over your car keys, they can drive you where they want, you know, where they want to go. So, yeah, very much. And emotions are a big part of that as well, because people become the emotion. When somebody's jealous, look how they act out. When somebody's angry, they act out in a certain way. So I'm a big one of looking what emotions do as entities within, because they change somebody's normal nature into acting out. While that emotion's running through somebody, revenge, it can completely change the character of that person while that energy is running through them. So a big one is to look at what emotions are being raised every time a certain subject comes up, or you meet a certain person. What are they triggering in you? So that's where you learn that everyone around you is a teacher, because they'll show you what's in you.
That was yesterday's show, mirroring. Perfect. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
That worked out.
But it's not a case of the whole point. It's not a case of blaming other people. You know, it's not a case of saying, "Oh,
you're really blaming yourself."
Why I'm angry.
Yeah.
Well, you can blame anybody you like. They're going to go off and way and live their life, no matter what. They're going to do things in their way. You can sit there and hold that energy within you and go through it again and again and again, but to what end? You've got to deal with your share of energy of the world. What is running through me? Am I annoyed? Am I disgusted about what's happening on the other side of the world? Am I going to hold that energy about what's some event that's happening on the other side of the world that I'm really angry about? And then I'm going to pass that anger on to other people by telling them how angry I am about that particular subject. Or am I going to be the one that transmutes it and changes that energy within me so that I don't then go and pass it on to others? All right, that's the mirroring process.
One last question that I have from T-Light, one of our moderators on YouTube. Thank you for moderating there too. How do you know the difference between crystals, indigos, and so on? How can you tell? Is that a vibratory
thing? It's very much about the agenda. It's about their purpose. These are individuals that come with a pre-programmed agenda. All right, the same way that you might be drawn to rock music as opposed to swing. So what is deciding that preference? You. All right. So how does somebody tell the difference between crystals? We don't need to decide what other people are. That's like labeling somebody by their culture, their religion, their nature. So what we're talking about here is the nature of somebody, their preferences. What are they drawn to? Well, how come you're into rock and somebody else likes classical? What's the difference between you that makes you dislike something and somebody else likes something else? So crystals, indigos, is their nature will come through in what has been defined as a crystal full of love. Indigo rocks the system. It's designed to be a system buster. Doesn't want to follow the rules. It wants to do their own thing. Crystals full of love. They'll get on with it. They'll just help people. They won't be asked. They have it within them. Their nature is to be of assistance to others, service to others. Okay. So a big part of that indigo might be service to self. I want to destroy this myth that service to self is bad. You have to focus on yourself first before you can help other people. Otherwise, you're just taking everything that you've not yet learned and passing it on to others. So service to self is very much a vital part of the process to become in service to others. So the indigo is, as I said, the system buster. They might be service to self. They might be selfish. They might be angry. They might look at the world and go, I don't like this world because of the way it is. I want to change it. All right. So we can't judge somebody by the fact that we look at somebody and go, they're destructive in their nature, because part of that process of their soul emanating themselves in that life is to break something apart that currently exists. So how do we tell the difference between them? By their nature. We have inbuilt within us to recognize the nature of others around us. We know, we have inbuilt whether somebody's threatening, whether somebody's kind, considerate, nice. We can do that. Everybody's got that empathetic ability, right? So what we're looking for is the nature of somebody. And when you recognize the nature, you can relate to somebody. Hey, I like you. You're on the same wavelength as me. I can talk to you because you listen. All right. And that's how you know crystals and indigos. Indigos aren't necessarily going to want to talk to you. Indigos are going to have their own agenda going on. Crystals are going to want to chat and say, hey, let's talk about life, the universe, and everything. The golden children, even better. 2012, just before 2012 onwards. These are souls being born into individuals. If you could pick up a baby in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, look in their eyes, that is a soul looking at you. That is not a baby with unfocused. You can see an individual soul looking at you. They know how to do things already. They won't need teaching. There's going to be real problems putting these. We've already got them in a way in form of autism, Asperger's, ADHD, where they're already doing their own thing, regardless of the conformity of society around them. So the earlier version of these individuals that come in are fixed on their own agendas, all right, have been given a label as symptoms. So somebody might say they've got autism, and somebody else might go, well, that's an indigo. It's not all indigos, all right? So it's a label. So let's have a look at the nature of people. That's the important measurement. What's the nature of that person? Are they kind and considerate and nice by nature? Or are they nasty, unapproachable, and, And whatever it is that they're predicting out in the world, I'm just going to hold love around them, because why not? That would be my answer.
You know, getting back to what you were saying about being service to self before you can be service to others, I would say definitely, especially when it comes in terms of your body and health, you know, and that's a huge lesson I learned, you know, with having the heart attack back in September, you know. Back at that time, I used to smoke cigarettes. I occasionally drank. I haven't had a drink since before the heart attack. I didn't drink very often. What's that?
Are you still smoking?
No, not at all. I haven't had it. No. Yeah, I quit smoking.
So what does a heart attack do? It's to wake up.
Yeah.
All right. That's what happens. Extremes happen to you because you need to change. Your higher self is going, you're not listening. You're not listening. You're not listening. Bang! Something happens and you go, okay, I'm listening now.
Yeah, I started juicing. I'm eating a lot healthier.
Nice.
And and all this stuff is helping to raise my vibration even more than what it was. So, and the removal of all these negative things that were going on, the nicotine and dependence, and eating food that wasn't necessarily, even though it was organic, might not have been the best for me. So it's a wake up.
Too much of any one thing is bad for you. This is the saying that comes, I've heard. So too much of any one thing can be bad for you. All right. So we need the moderation. We know this. We're trying to find harmony. So harmony with the people around us, harmony with our bodies, harmony with nature, harmony with how we view things, not balance. Nobody tries to be half good and half evil. Nobody's trying to be half male and half female. There's not a pivot point where you're balancing between the two. I've seen this written about many times about balance. The balance comes from harmony. I'm happy being male. Somebody else might be happy, being mischievous, being a bit naughty. They're all right with that. That's their humor, their sarcasm, their nature. So harmony is finding your place in your own nature. It doesn't matter about other people. If somebody else goes, oh, you're like this, and therefore you're not balanced, you'll go, no, but I'm in harmony. I like who I am. I've got bits about me that, you might not like, but I'm okay with that. That's harmony.
I could use that because I'm a triple Libra and I'm constantly seeking balance. So harmony's a good thing.
With the scales, harmony's good. That means that harmony's like, I can eat chocolate as long as I don't do it to excess. It's okay for me to like the things in life as long as it's in harmony with everything else. And that's the whole point. Balance is all about the individual. Harmony is about everything. There's a big difference.
Is there a final message you'd like to leave off for everyone listening?
I always like the fact you do that. I've seen you do that with others. Like, is that final message? The 2020 is going to be the year of vision. Yeah, the year of inner vision. Okay, so 2020 is very much about having a look at life. All right, and not necessarily having I'm ill at the moment. What's the reason for it? Let me look out there to find somebody else who's going to write an article that says, I can relate to that because they're giving an explanation. Find your own explanation and let it pass through. Okay. There's no need to find other people's reasons and then apply it to yourself, because it will only come back again because you've not dealt with it. So you'll find that every year from 2012 is a repeat. We're in a cycle of the year. We go around the sun or whatever it is. The sun goes around us, wherever your perspective is. Okay, but it's a repeat. So you'll find that what happens in January this year, you're going to see it again in January next year, because it's a cycle. So what we see as a circle, if I draw a circle in 2D, if I do it in 3D, it's a spiral. Okay, so a circle in 2D is a spiral in 3D. Okay, so when we change our perspective, we change our view of the world. So the whole point about inner vision is to look at things at a new way. Look beyond how you normally look at things. I've seen something, this is how I react to it. Why have I reacted in this way to what's going on? That's the inner vision. So everything that's going on around the world, the elections, finance, the fires, there's a bigger picture. have a look and see inside how you're relating to what you're seeing. It's all purposeful. It's being presented to you for a reason. What are you going to do with that? Okay, that would be the answer.
I told you this would be an hour or so. It's more along the or so line than an hour. But and I appreciate that. Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Would you like to tell people how to get in touch with you and your seminars?
Oh, bless you. Thank you. Yes, last year was webinars, and that they are all now on my website, www, obviously, polarisab.com. So Polaris, the North Star, AB, it's the star just behind it. And on there, we've got a series of webinars about opening up the heart activation, light language activation, conquering the void, so dealing with the shadow self, dealing with the dark night of the soul. And then the last one is about invoking the fire within, invoking power within, which is about the Kundalini energy and about looking at preparing yourself for Kundalini, because that's a vital part of the spiritual journey. So as you know, I write regularly on Facebook. It just pours through every day. It's just a case of choosing. So I find that a real blessing that Facebook has been giving me the opportunity to meet some amazing people, and you and I from that point of view as well. So
definitely. Do you have a YouTube channel? Someone's asking on
YouTube
if you have a YouTube channel.
There is, but there's very little on there. I haven't really gone down the route of YouTube yet. I'm too busy writing, but it will come. It will come. I'm a writer at the moment rather than a talker. You wouldn't think so from us talking.
I know, you do a wonderful job at talking. That's for sure.
Oh, bless you. It is something I'll look into doing, YouTube, but there's so many subjects at the moment. It's just trying to, you've picked on light language and look at what we've covered in 2 hours.
Oh gosh.
So yeah,
it's been an amazing conversation. I want to thank you for joining us here and sharing your wisdom with everyone. Real quick, I just want to say, hey, check out In5D.net for some high vibrational quartz crystal soaked tie-dye shirts, and
buy a t-shirt.
In5D on Patreon, so you can join in. We have a monthly private chat. If you want to join in on that, you can do that. So once again, Paul, thank you so much for sharing your time.
You've seen the show, now buy the t-shirt. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, my brother. And I just want to send everyone off with infinite love and light. And thank you for joining me tonight. Namaste to all.
Love to all. Bless you.